So, there was a Miss Juneteenth pageant in Wisconsin, and a Nigerian girl won. Y'all, it's time for the diaspora to gather around. It's been a while since we had a diaspora discussion, but here we go. First of all, before I get into this video, let me make it clear right now, I am not about to flame this girl, okay? This girl just graduated from high school. She hasn't even gone off to college yet. This is a child. So I'm not about to flame her. I don't flame children. I try not to, at least, okay? But I'm going to discuss what the actual issue is in this scenario. And I'm going to be clear that her behavior comes from a place of ignorance. Like I said, this is a kid. We cannot expect a child to not be ignorant or to know better about whatever. Come on, be so serious, right? And I'm saying that because y'all know I'm pro-African American and whatnot or whatever. So I be in these pro-African American circles. And I've seen a lot of y'all flaming this little girl, okay? And on one hand, if she was an adult, yeah, I flame her too. But again, this is a child. So I don't feel like that's right, okay? So let me get into this video. So before I made this video, I went and I watched an interview that was conducted after she won this competition. And what I immediately noticed about the interview is that nothing about what Juneteenth is actually about was mentioned in it, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. She has an impressive resume. She had a 5.0 on a 4.0 scale. You know, she started this organization. She's going to college at University of Wisconsin-Madison. I think that's what it's called. You know, like she's going to a great school, all of this stuff, right? So this video is in no way intended to downplay this girl. Clearly, she's a great student. She's doing great things, right? But she is not Miss Juneteenth. That's just the fact of the matter, okay? I don't care what competition she competed in, what she thinks she won. She will never embody the spirit of Juneteenth. And let me tell you exactly why I'm saying that. As we know, African Americans are descended from transatlantic slavery in the United States of America. A lot of people are about to come comment colonizing and erasing history. A lot of people are going to come comment and say that an African American means an African in America or any black person in America or whatever. And the fact of the matter is that's not what it means. You know it. So you might as well stop playing, okay? So in this girl's interview, she talks about how her mother is from some village in Nigeria and she's created some organization that's called something in Igbo, and they fundraise and they give things back to this village. Beautiful, beautiful, wonderful thing, right? But my point is this: her mother is from Nigeria, which means her mother just came here within her mother's lifetime, which means clearly she is not descended from transatlantic slavery in the United States. Therefore, her people were not even in the United States when Juneteenth occurred. So how on earth can she represent or embody what it means to be Miss Juneteenth? She simply cannot. This is not coming from an anti-African or anti-Nigerian sentiment. I know some of y'all can't stand to be corrected. I know some of y'all expect that somebody has to be dick sucking you or else they hate you. This is not that. Honestly, go get a diary. Go write in your feelings about that, because my comment section really doesn't care, okay? But this is my thing. Let's pretend that there was a Miss 1804 pageant, okay? Let's pretend that I competed in this pageant and I won. All right, the fact remains that I'm not Haitian, and I will never, ever be able to represent 1804. That's just not me. That's just not my history. That's just the reality of the fact. Let me be clear about my point. The issue is not that Africans and Caribbeans are celebrating Juneteenth. That's not the issue. I believe that black people honestly should celebrate all black people's accomplishments, because a win for black people anywhere is a win for black people everywhere. So I don't think that the Haitian Revolution, for example, was only a win for Haitians. That was a win for all black people. I don't think that the civil rights movement was only a win for African Americans. That was a win for all black people, because globally, black people are viewed as the bottom of the barrel. So when any of us wins, when any of us comes up at all, it's a win for all of us everywhere. So my issue is not that an African girl is celebrating Juneteenth or anything like that. That's not the issue here. The issue is the fact that the face of Juneteenth is somebody who is not African American, and it should not be. Now, I want to speak on the confusion and the confliction that this girl must be feeling, because honestly, I feel bad for her, right? So clearly she grew up in the United States around all African Americans. And I want to speak on this because my best friend is the same way. Like, my best friend is literally Caribbean. Both of her parents are from the Caribbean, but she grew up in the United States. And me and my best friend go to Juneteenth events together. Like, she will tell you happy Juneteenth, even though she's not African American. That's not the issue. That is clearly not the issue. In fact, that's a good thing. Good. We should all support each other, right? But the issue is that a lot of times African Americans don't get to be the face of our own history, our own identity, etc. I've made many videos about how biracials are the face of African Americans in American media. Whenever you see a black person in American media, it's a biracial. Like, Zendaya doesn't represent me. That's a half white woman. She simply does not represent me, right? Yet in American media, she does. And that's very unfair to black people. So I've had this conversation about how non-African Americans represent African Americans when it comes to people who are non-black, period, because you can't be black if you got a white parent. Like, that don't make sense, right? But the same issue occurs when it comes to different groups of black people. How the heck is an African representing me in Juneteenth? Like, that doesn't make sense. We don't have the same history, you know, like, you can't represent me with this. Yet we see that America is trying to push them to represent us anyway. I swear America be having it out for us, but that's another story for another day or whatever. Now, let me get back to the confusion and the confliction that this girl must be feeling, because a lot of times I have conversations about how lucky and blessed I am that I grew up in Detroit, where the majority of the people are black, right? And I'm usually having these conversations about African Americans who grew up in predominantly white cities and they faced racism and stuff because of the fact that they were racially a minority in their city, right? But I want to take it a step further and talk about ethnically, okay? Because I grew up in a place where pretty much everyone was the same as me ethnically, okay? And I want to talk about how lucky and blessed I am for that fact, because even though this little girl may have grown up in a predominantly black community, I don't know, I really don't know, right? Clearly, her community was not the same as her ethnically, because she would have grown up in a predominantly African American community while she is African. I want to talk about that because clearly when you see someone who grew up in a community that's a different race from theirs, you may see issues with self-hatred or assimilation or confusion or whatever, right? So when you see a black person who grew up in a white community, a lot of times you see them with their hair jacked up, talking about, I don't like ghetto black people, so and so and so, trying too hard to fit in with white people, right? But then let's talk about ethnically. You see an African girl who, I don't know if she grew up around, you know, African Americans or white people or whatever, but either way, she didn't grow up with people as the same ethnicity as her, right? So you see her overcompensating and trying to fit in. She's trying to be Miss Juneteenth, even though Juneteenth ain't got nothing to do with her, because in America, black people are mostly African American, right? So you may see that sometimes Caribbeans or Africans who grew up in America may be overcompensating because they want to fit in so damn badly. This is something I've noticed hanging around Africans and Caribbeans who were raised in the United States, because oftentimes you will hear them say stuff like, I'm not African, I'm American, or I'm not Caribbean, I'm American, right? And it's like, hey, like, baby girl, like, you go home and eat gold roti, like, you is not American, when I would ever, like, clearly you Caribbean, clearly you whatever, right? But you'll see that growing up in a place where they are the ethnic minority has made them, you know, it's made them confused and conflicted, right? And that's not just, you know, Americans' fault or anything. That's also Africans and Caribbeans' fault, because you'll hear those Africans from Africa and those Caribbeans from the Caribbean tell them, oh, you're not Caribbean, you're American. Oh, you're not African, you're American. You were raised there, you grew up around those people, you're not one of us, right? So it causes a lot of confusion and confliction in these people. So looking at this girl who's African, but she was raised in America, I can't begin to imagine the confusion and confliction that she must be feeling. That being said, I feel bad for her. Clearly, she's trying to fit in with the Black American community. She grew up here. She grew up around us. You know, the only Black people in America, for the most part, is African Americans. 99% of the Black people in America is going to be African American, right? So clearly, she's trying to fit in with us. I can't imagine. Again, say I was raised in Ghana or something, right? I'm clearly going to try to fit in with the people around me, right? Clearly, she took it a step too far competing in a Miss Juneteenth pageant. I feel bad for her because clearly, you know, she's confused, conflicted about her identity, where she belongs, whatever. And she's still a kid. Like I said, I'm not finna flame this girl because she's still a kid. But we have to talk about the issue with how African Americans are not even allowed to represent ourselves, because that's what this boils down to. There's this issue of what's mine is mine, but what's yours is mine as well in the diaspora. And I'm saying that to mean that a lot of times Africans and Caribbeans, they feel like they're entitled to their culture and African Americans can't participate in it, but they be all up in our stuff, right? So you will hear Africans and Caribbeans complaining because African Americans wearing dashikis or whatever, right? And they'll be like, oh, dashikis is ours, yada, yada, yada. Y'all stole that pattern from Ghanaians, whatever. Okay, yeah, you own your culture. Okay, stand in that poo-poo. But then you will also see them competing in Miss Juneteenth pageants and saying that they can say nigga because they black and yada, yada, yada. So it's like the diaspora believes that because we're all black, they're entitled to African-American culture. But somehow African-Americans still ain't entitled to that shit. That's a whole issue within the diaspora. And that's what this boils down to. The same way I will never represent the Haitian Revolution or the Igbo Yam Festival, you will never represent Juneteenth. And that's not to be mean or to put you down or to exclude you from anything. No. That's not the point. But the point is we have to remember to be respectful and make sure that the actual people who are a part of whatever group are representing their lineage and their history, and that we're not contributing to erasure and colonization, because honestly, that's what a lot of this is.